Hello and welcome to the Street Crime UK YouTube channel. Please don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe. Today we're going to look at one of the many infamous hackers in the UK. As more and more of our lives are intertwined with technology, it's important that we understand who are the most talented and skilled hackers in the UK, and also learn from their crimes just how easily information can be stolen. Nathen Wyatt, who was once accused of hacking Pippa Middleton's phone, was not too long ago fighting extradition to the United States of America over cyber attacks that he and his criminal gang had executed on healthcare firms. Nathen Wyatt, who was 37 at the time, was arrested in 2016 after the Duchess of Cambridge sister had 3,000 images stolen from her iCloud account, which had been hacked. However, Mr. Wyatt was later released without charge due to lack of evidence for the crime. But during their investigation into Mr. Wyatt, the police had found that he had in fact hacked a US law firm, and once he was inside the network, demanded £10,000 in ransom money to fix the damage that he had caused. This is a common technique used by hackers. Mr. Wyatt was then later jailed over blackmail and other credit card fraud that he had been involved with. He served his time and was waiting to be released from prison. However, upon release from custody, Mr. Wyatt was immediately seized by the police over a similar ransom and blackmail online fraud scheme. This time it was against a healthcare and accountancy firm in Missouri. Mr. Wyatt was arrested after the authorities in the US had issued a warrant for his arrest. Mr. Wyatt had also been charged with 1 count of conspiracy to blackmail healthcare providers in the USA, 2 counts of aggravated identity theft, and 3 counts of threatening to damage a protected computer. Westminster Magistrate Court heard that Mr. Wyatt was a housebound husband from Northamptonshire, and he had extorted American healthcare providers out of thousands of dollars in cryptocurrency, and had done so under the moniker of the Dark Overlords. Daniel Sternberg, who was prosecuting, said, "In terms of the domestic proceedings in this jurisdiction, Mr. Wyatt was arrested on August the 7th. Mr. Wyatt was arrested at the gates of HMP Wandsworth upon release, where at the time he was serving a domestic custodial sentence. Mr. Wyatt declined to consent to an offered extradition to the United States to answer the charges. However, an arrest warrant was still issued by the US District Attorney of Missouri. In the warrant, it said Mr. Wyatt had threatened the owners of the data that was within these computers that his criminal group would release all the data to the public if the money was not paid. The first of these blackmails, in which Mr. Wyatt and his Dark Overlord gang had at this point allegedly taken part in, had occurred at some point around April 2016. The hacker group known as the Dark Overlords were demanding a ransom from a healthcare company, in which they demanded the money should be paid into a PayPal account and it should also be sent in cryptocurrency Bitcoin. Mr. Sternberg also said, threatening emails were sent to each of the victims. The healthcare provider that was targeted was located in the Eastern District of Missouri, which is in the United States of America. The victim, a healthcare records company in Missouri, received various threats from a Gmail email address. The victim was informed that their Dropbox and PayPal accounts had been hacked by the group called the Dark Overlords, and that their funds had been paid out into another account that the Dark Overlords had control of. The victim, who received the email within the company, was told to respond as soon as possible, or they would be publicly named as the source of the client's suffering. Mr. Wyatt didn't just target that one individual healthcare provider in Missouri. He sent similar emails to many different healthcare providers that were also in Missouri. The prosecutor for the case said, the Dark Overlords demanded large amounts of untraceable Bitcoin payments to satisfy its demands. Attached to emails were various personal information about the owners of the company and his family. A threatening text message was also sent to the daughter of the owner of the company. The family was informed that the network had been hacked and they were asked to pay $75,000 in Bitcoins in order to meet the Dark Overlord's demand. The court also heard that another healthcare provider in Athens, Georgia, had its entire database hacked and then was threatened with illegal data being added to the database and then being reported to the US Department of Health and Human Services unless a ransom was paid. The victims were told to make the payments in Bitcoin to the hackers, who, as a bid to show their seriousness of the situation, had released 500 records belonging to the company to a website called Payspin, where anyone with the link could view it. Mr. Sternberg then added, the Dark Overlord sent an email to evicting saying that they would accept the payment of £400,000 to be sent in £100,000 increments to 4 different bank accounts. The final victim is said to be a public accounting firm in Missouri, which was hacked by the Dark Overlords again. The Department of Justice in America wanted to extradite Mr. Wyatt to face trial in Eastern District of Missouri, where the majority of companies and individuals that have been affected by the hacking and blackmailing were currently located. The court also heard that Mr. Wyatt was also linked to a hacking attack that was in respect to a blackmail attempt on another healthcare in Georgia. Mr. Sternberg added, one of the bank accounts that the demand of money was being paid into was that of Mr. Wyatt, and another account in which the money was requested to be paid into was that of his girlfriend, who was also living in Wellingborough in the UK. The evidence clearly connects Mr. Wyatt in the criminal conduct that was being used against the companies and the persons within the US. Mr. Wyatt's IP address was used to register a telephone that was used to send threatening messages. That very same IP address was used to register an email address in the name of Lauren Bowler, another alias that was used by Mr. Wyatt. The Gmail account that was created in this name had also used a search engine to look for one of the company's owners. The phone number in question was used to register a WhatsApp account, one that had used Mr. Wyatt's picture as an avatar. The very same number was used to log into a PayPal account that received stolen funds from one of the victims. Another phone number was set up and used from the IP address that set up a Twitter account for the Dark Overlords and also register a VPN. That very same VPN was then registered and then used to log into Mr. Wyatt's Facebook account. In short, he set up multiple accounts to set up and extort companies. He is therefore charged in the conspiracy. The district judge, Nina Tempia, adjourned the hearing until she had made her judgment. Mr. Wyatt was bailed to appear at Westminster Magistrate Court for that very same judgment. As part of his bail conditions, he was not able to process or order any new travel documents and was electronically tagged. He also had to report to the police station every day. The court heard that he was a house husband and had stayed at home to look after his youngest children. Katie O'Reilly, who was defending Mr. Wyatt, said he wanted to check in at the police station at a later time at the weekend so he could spend more quality time with his children. Mr. Wyatt was previously accused of taking thousands of images of the Duchess and her children, Prince George and Prince Charlotte, with the police claiming that the pictures were then offered for sale for £50,000. Pippa and her now husband, James Matthew, had taken the case to the High Court to obtain an order that would bar any publication of any photos or materials that had been leaked from her iCloud account. However, things would not work out quite well for Mr. Wyatt. Mr. Wyatt, who had helped steal the information from several companies as a key member of the Dark Overlord hacking group, was jailed for 5 years after being extradited and sentenced in the US. Nathen Francis Wyatt had pleaded guilty in the federal court of St. Louis, Missouri after conspiring to commit aggravated identity theft and computer fraud. The now 39-year-old of Wellingborough, Northamptonshire, was ordered to pay around $1.5 million. Federal prosecutors said that the Dark Overlord hacking group stole medical records, client files, and personal information from US companies, and then demanded around $75,000 and $300,000, which is roughly between £58,000 and £234,000 worth of untraceable Bitcoin to be paid in ransom if they wanted the information returned. Whilst none of the big companies had actually paid the ransom, the conspiracy cost them greatly due to the intrusion and release of data of their clients, according to federal prosecutor Laura Kathleen Burstein. Miss Burstein had told the hearing that Mr. Wyatt set up a phone account and a Twitter and a PayPal account, and that all these accounts were used to communicate with the victims and receive money. Mr. Wyatt apologised during the hearing, which was held via Zoom, and said he was on medication for mental issues and it led him to make very bad decisions. "I can promise you now that I am out of that world," Mr. Wyatt said. "I don't want to see another computer for the rest of my life." Rocker Morrison noted that Mr. Wyatt did not orchestrate any of the hacks. and he is the only hacker of the group who has been successfully identified. Miss Bernstein said Mr. Wyatt's actions had helped the other hackers to remain anonymous, and that his phone account was then used to send threatening text messages to the relatives of the victims who were involved in this crime. Mr. Wyatt had lost his appeal through the High Court to avoid extradition to the US for this trial. The United States Department of Justice had this to say. A United Kingdom national pleaded guilty today to conspiring to commit aggravated identity theft and computer fraud, and was sentenced to 5 years in federal prison. US District Judge Ronnie White for the Eastern District of Missouri sentenced Nathen Wyatt, who was 39, and was part of the collective known as the Overlord, which had targeted victims in the St. Louis area in the beginning of 2016. Mr. Wyatt was extradited from the United Kingdom to the Eastern District of Missouri in December of 2019. Judge White also ordered Mr. Wyatt to pay $1,467,000 in restitution. Mr. Wyatt used his technical skill to prey on Americans, take their private data, and then exploited the sensitive nature of the medical and financial records for his own personal gain, said Acting Assistant Attorney General Brian C. Rabbit of the Justice Department's Criminal Division. Today's guilty plea demonstrates the department's commitment to ensuring that hackers who seek to profit by illegally invading the privacy of Americans will be found and held accountable, no matter where they may be located. The Dark Overlords have victimized innumerable employers in the United States, many of them repeatedly, said the US Attorney Jeff Jensen of the Eastern District of Missouri. I am grateful to the victims who came forward despite ransom threats, and to the prosecutors and agents who were able to catch and punish the member of the Dark Overlords in the United States. Cyber hackers mistakenly believe they can hide behind a keyboard, said the special agent in charge, Richard Quinn, of the St. Louis FBI division in the field office. In this case, the FBI demonstrated once again that it will impose the consequences on cybercriminals no matter how long it takes or where they are located. Mr. Wyatt admitted that, in the beginning of 2016, he was a member of the Dark Overlord hacking group, and that group was responsible for remotely accessing the computer networks of multiple US companies without authorization. The victims in the Eastern District of Missouri included healthcare providers, accounting firms, and others. Mr. Wyatt admitted that the Dark Overlord co-conspirators acted by obtaining sensitive information from victim companies, including patients' medical records and personal identifying information, and then threatening to release the company's stolen data unless the companies paid a ransom of between $75,000 and $350,000 in Bitcoin. Mr. Wyatt further admitted that he had participated in the conspiracy by creating, validating, and maintaining communication, payments, and setting up a virtual private network, and the accounts that were created were used over the course of the scheme to, among other things, send threatening messages and extortionate messages to the victims who were within the Eastern District of Missouri. The investigation was conducted by the FBI and the St. Louis field office. Support was also provided by the FBI Atlanta field office. The Justice Department Office of International Affairs coordinated with the extradition of Mr. Wyatt. The department thanks law enforcement authorities in the United Kingdom, including the Metropolitan Police Service, for their substantial assistance in the investigation. Mr. Wyatt was clearly very talented with technology, but had used his skills in the wrong way. What are your opinions of Mr. Wyatt's sentence? Do you believe he should have been extradited to the US? Or do you believe he should have been allowed to stay in the UK and serve the sentence here? Please let us know in the comments below. Thanks for joining us today. If you like what you heard, please don't forget to click subscribe, and as always, stay safe.